Hello, my sacred friend. I am Lori Andrus, and welcome to this episode of the Meet Me in Sacred Space podcast. Today we are going to talk about 3 wisdom messages from the September crystal of the month, Garnet. For those of you who are new here, every year I do a crystal forecast. I sit down and do an event where we sink into a reading for the coming year, and we call forward the crystal allies for each month. The crystal ally that showed up for this month was Garnet. And when it came forward, let me just say, I felt like it was perfect. Yeah, this beauty is is showing up at what I feel is really a perfect time. Garnet is a wonderful ally for the fall season. Now, I realize not all of you are in an area where you experience fall in the same way that I do up here in the North Woods. But in about a month, we're going to have a pretty beautiful show of color up here. And the trees are already beginning their process of drawing their energy back through the leaves, through their branches, to the trunk, and down to the roots. And it's interesting to notice and pay attention to that subtle shift, that subtle change. It's something that can be heard in the sound of the leaves. It can be felt. There's like an energetic crispness that can be felt. The scent begins to shift and change, and it all matches some of the temperature fluctuations during this time of the year. So we'll talk more about that as we talk about the messages, but I want to share with you today that I am in my ceremony garden up in the North Woods. So I'm giving you a little peek here. You can see behind me, there's my fire pit, and got a nice little pile of wood behind me as well. I guess those of you who are on listening on one of the listening places, you probably can't see this, but for those of you who are on YouTube, you got the view. And if you want to pop over to YouTube and check this out, it's on my YouTube channel, Lori A. Andrus. So you can visit it there. All right, so we have 3 core messages, and actually 2 of these messages come more in the form of a question this month. So the first message is, 'tis the season to strengthen your roots. I just love that. It's the season for strengthening our roots. Just as we witness the trees drawing all their energy in and strengthening their roots, it's a season for us to do the same. All right, the next is the first of the 2 questions. I love this one. And the question is, are you willing to give your dreams the time and the space that they need to grow? And then the third one. Now, this is a message that came forward in the sanctuary for this month with the last new moon. And that message or that question it's a really big one, and actually took me back a little bit. Maybe pause and just get really present. And the question is, did you plant what you want to harvest? Yeah, Garnet's shown up in some pretty juicy ways, and it's really getting to the point this month. I think that's one of the things I really love about Garnet. This is an ally I have been working with, for well over 20 years. It's when I started creating jewelry from the place of creating it to sell, Garnet was often central in my creations. It was a part of so many of them, and it was one of the first crystals that I really became familiar and what I would call friends with. We worked together as allies a lot. And what I discovered over the years is that when I'm ready to really make a shift or a change or pivot or grow in my life, this is one that really shows up, like it just pops in and reminds me how important it is to really plant my roots deeper into the earth and plant the seeds of my dreams really deep into the earth. Now, in order to plant the seeds of our dreams, we can call the seeds of our dreams many things, right? It's a fun little magical description to call it planting the seeds. But planting the seeds of our dreams is really the same as setting an intention, making a goal, focusing our energy on something we truly want. And I think very often we overlook that idea of focusing our energy because there's so much going on. Life is fast paced. There are things happening all the time, things that pull our attention away from the dreams that we want or the intentions that we've set, the things that are most heartfelt. And this is part of the cycle of life, right? And one of the opportunities that we have and one of the invitations that Garnet offers is to step back and really focus our energy on our intention, on our dreams. So that energy of focusing our intention or our attention and energy on our dreams actually comes into that question of, are you willing to give your dreams the time and space they need? Now, when we plant a seed, we know that it's going to take a certain amount of time for that seed to grow, to even sprout. And then once it sprouts, it's going to take time to grow. And then it's going to need to bloom. And then it goes, there's so many layers, right? And then there's the life cycle of it. Now, the fun thing about being in the forest is that I'm watching not just the life cycle of the flowers and some of the ferns and some of the things that are on the forest floor, but I'm watching the life cycle of the trees. And it's really fascinating because the area we're in, this particular forest was harvested about 9 years ago, 7 to 9 years ago, somewhere in there. The previous owners had it harvested. And as we're here, it's like we've begun to have a sense of familiarity with how old a tree is by kind of gauging the ones that we are selecting to allow grow, the ones that we move, the ones that we remove, on and on and on. And it's a really interesting thing. When we think about the growth of a tree, and I'm looking at this gorgeous tree in front of me that's probably about 30 years old. It's beautiful, beautiful maple tree that's just towering up. And when we think about our own intentions, our dreams, the things that we want to experience in life, there's short-term things that we want, but then very often those short-term things feed into a bigger picture. They support a bigger desire. And I really feel like this is a time where many of us are being asked to step back from just those immediate things, the immediate goals, the immediate desires, the immediate wants and needs, and begin to create space for the things we want longer term. The 1 year, the 2 year, the 3 year, the 5 year, the 10 year, the 20 year. Goals, dreams, visions, and ideas. Now, we all have different context around that for many different reasons, and different reasons why we have different sense of timelines, right? But being in the forest, it's really shifted my perspective on how we plan and work with the land and how we time things out, and the vision and dreams that we have for the land and how that all unfolds. The things that we can do now that will support a dream that is probably not going to come into fruition for maybe another 5 years or 10 years. And we create the space. But we need to do the things that create the space for that dream to come into form. So in your own life, what does that mean for you? For some of us, that means letting certain things go. It means healing old stories and ancestral wounds and patterns that just don't work for us anymore. For others, it may mean like literally letting go of physical stuff that doesn't belong in your space, right? It may mean letting go of the clutter, right? And just cleaning things up. Here in the forest, it means creating trails, creating spaces where we could see, like, oh, this might be an interesting place to have as a campsite for our family when they come to visit, and begin to create those types of spaces. When I'm thinking about my work, I begin to think about, I usually often do kind of brain dumps and get down the ideas that come through. And then I create altars for those ideas and those dreams. And I begin to work with them and then allow them to begin to grow in my world. I create a space that's dedicated to that. So for you, I want to invite you to just consider, where and how can I begin to create space for the things I want to experience in my life. Yeah. And sometimes that means looking at what's not working and inviting clarity around what you want to experience differently. The next piece I want to invite you to consider is the next message for this month, which is "'Tis the season for strengthening your roots." I just love that phrase, "'tis the season for strengthening your roots." The invitation here is to actually begin to create a solid foundation for yourself in your life. Now, we see how the trees go through cycles where they begin to anchor their energy into the earth. They draw all of their energy in and let their roots deepen, strengthen, and be nourished. We all have different season experiences, but we still go through these cycles. It's a natural cycle that we move through. We move through cycles of drawing within, going through deaths, re-emerging, rebirth, coming back to life, blooming, shining brilliantly in our life, and then drawing our energy back within. And from summer into fall, we move into a place where we begin to draw our energy back within, and we begin the turn of that, the energy into one of reflection, one of contemplation, one of planting seeds, one of strengthening our roots, strengthening our foundation with clear knowing, understanding, relationship with the ideas and dreams and things we want to experience differently in our lives, and creating space for them. I love how trees go through their amazing transformation. And the piece that most fascinates me is how they withdraw their energy from the leaves. They draw it back through the branches, back through the trunk, and then all the way back down into the earth. And they store nutrients and resources and expand their roots, allowing their roots to grow through the winter season, expanding their foundation, expanding their sense of stability, expanding their connection with the earth. Yeah. And then as spring comes again, they're able to draw that energy back up and allow it to go into a new cycle of creation. Now, timeline for that can be different for each of us, right? But I want to invite you to begin to have an awareness around your roots. What does your root system look like and feel like? How is it expanding as we're moving into this season? This is where Garnet is such an amazing ally. It invites us to pick that beautiful, connect with that beautiful idea, dream, vision, to pluck it out of the sky, to draw it in, let ourselves love it, bring it down into our center of creation and connection, and then down into our roots and plant it like a seed into the earth. And let it be nourished. Let it take roots. Let it take hold and connect with our roots so that it can grow in our world. I know, lots of little fun plays today with this tree and seed idea. But when we think about and consider the cycles of life, this is really what's happening. We have this opportunity to really attune to our ideas and dreams and visions and inspirations and intentions as a seed, as to imagine it as something that we're planting in our lives. How do we treasure that seed? How do we love it? How do we allow it to have space? 'Tis the season to strengthen your roots. Okay, so the last question here is one that really came forward. It came forward within the sanctuary circle, and it came forward just whoosh with a lot of momentum and energy. And I think it's a really important question during this time when we do harvest, because fall is a season of harvest, right? So during this season of harvest, to consider, did we plant what we want to harvest? Did we? Yeah, to really be present with that. And then especially as we're beginning to consider the drawing our energy into our roots and planting new seeds for the coming year. And setting our intentions, setting goals and dreams and paying attention to them. We need to also be aware of whether or not what we're thinking about, what we're experiencing, what we're speaking of, does it match what we want? And is what's growing and blooming and coming to life in our lives, does it match what we really want to experience? Does it match what we want to harvest? And if it doesn't, this is a fun opportunity. I think I just heard a woodpecker. This is a fun opportunity to slow down and, yep, definitely a woodpecker. Some good animal medicine here. To slow down, to recognize, where are we bumping our head against the same thing over and over and over and over and not moving forward? Yeah, I think that's what the woodpecker is trying to ask. Where are we bumping our head against the same thing over and over and over and not really moving forward? And how can we step back? How can we explore something a little bit differently? How can we clarify what we really want so that when it comes to harvest again, we recognize that we truly planted what we wanted to harvest? Such a great gift from both Garnet and the little woodpecker friend in the tree. All right, so with that, my sacred friends, I want to invite you to join me for a fall equinox ceremony coming up on the 22nd of September. It's a Thursday at 6 p.m. Central Time. This will be via Zoom. It's a community ceremony. It's free. My gift to you. You can head to my website, loriaandress.com/fall 22, and that's the URL. I'll put the link in the show notes so you can just pop on over there. And if you have been thinking about joining us in the sanctuary, I'd love to have you. You can head on over and check that out as well, loriaandress.com/sanctuary. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends. And same thing with the podcast. Leave us a little love note, a little message, one of gratitude and love. And I thank you so much for listening. I thank you for your love, your presence, and for all of the beautiful ways you are showing up in the world. I wish you a beautiful day. And as always, shine brightly. Bye for now.